Thank you very much for inviting me to be a featured reader. These readings that I've been part of and that I'm able to come into have meant a lot. I'm starting off my reading today with a poem that is dedicated to the heart. And a lot of the poems I will read today will have to do with imagination and children. This poem was published in a little booklet called Bonnie's Crew, which was done to raise money for the Children's Heart Surgery Fund in Leeds, in England. Hearts are the wildflowers of our disappearing meadows. The name for a collection of hearts is unknown, but if I were to guess, I'd say it's something similar to the sound of ever-breaking surf on crushed shells at land's edge. And like those crashing waters, she too can break apart or turn to ice, depending on what birds sing down her tiny chimneys. Of all the tastes the tongue can savor, only love will linger longest. The preserved heart in a crystal jar Chopin left behind, and which the Nazis later stole, belonged to a tradition of burying hearts apart. Perhaps they'll be our risen selves. Like bats, heart echolocates to navigate waves to the clock of a library of petals. Um, David mentioned my first book of poems, which was called The Language of Coats. And in that collection, I look at some of the scapegoats that we have in society and some of the work that I did as a community worker. And I'm going to read you the title poem called The Problem with Coats. The problem with coats lies in what cupboard you'll find yourself hanging in, whether you take them off or keep them on. They came from Persia's seamed fitters, along with the trouser, and settled as nouns. I like to choose my coats from the rails of second-hand shops. Vincent de Paul is the best for everything end of season. I'd like to be my own designer, but what of the other wearers? The tailcoat met the lion skin and called it savagery. The morning coat met the suffragette, who called it inequality. The coatless met the landlords and called for democracy. That's the problem with coats, the way a simple naming can switch them into scapegoats. The only ones worth wearing are the colour of two magpies clacking from the top of rainbowed trees. Now, I just need to gather my breath. I've been ill recently, so my breathing isn't great. And I used to work as a community worker for many years with the children of the travelling community here in Ireland. And many of the children were living on the side of the road without taps and toilets. And this poem is written in the voice of one of those children. It's called Demography. And we got our funding based on the percentage of the community that was in the area. And as I worked in a rural area, we didn't get as much money as perhaps somebody who was living in the city. And it's called Demography. I am born, my name is Mary, after the Blessed Mother. I have 6 sisters and the 2 brothers. I am little. I have a horse. I have 5 sisters and still the 2 brothers. I miss my sister. May the saints and all the blessed angels mind her up in the holy heaven. I am Mary. I am bigger now. I live in Dublin. That's the capital sister of the country, on a site like with no toilets or electric or a Barbie shower or a binman. I'm going to the school and it's shite. The school and the teachers. No, I'm not going. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Me mum won't let me leave. I'm bigger now, bigger than you slousers any day. Me mum is crying over her father, that's my grandfather, because he's passed away, and he's only 50. Lucky to reach 50, the others say. What's lucky about it? There's a girl in my class, and she's a know-it-all pain in the arse Barbie bitch. Asked me, did I know that 5 in every 100 of our sort of people pass 50? And a good job too, says she, and I made a good job of her nose, and I'm suspended, and that's a good job too, best job ever. The teacher said I'm a criminal elephant, and what it has to do with crime and elephants, I don't know. And it just goes to show the buffs, the settle people, they're not near wise. I am Mary, I am bigger now, I live in Dublin, the capital city of the country, like. I am blessed now. I made my communion the day there was a woman came into our trailer. The day me and my sisters, we say, we get a lot of visitors. When I told my mum that more people visits us than visits the shrines and the relics, she told me for to shut my mouth, we need them people. I needs nothing from them, and they ate all the biscuits, and they're nosier by far than the shades, that's the police, and that's the God's honest truth. I am Mary. I'm 10 years of age. I have six sisters and one up in the holy heaven, and two brothers, and now the twins, and they've just arrived. The one a boy, the one a girl. So that's the seven sisters, and the one that's up in the holy heaven, and the three brothers, and my mum's wore out. And so's the rest of us. And this woman came the day about the moving into a house. And she was saying that for every 102 of us who are boys, there's only 100 who are girls. My mum didn't know what she was on about. And in her people, the settled people, there's 98.6 boys for every 100 girls. And the next thing you know, I says to me mum, they'll be looking for our fellas. And well, I swear to the Blessed Mother and all the blessed angels, they'll never get into my trailer to eat all me biscuits and be nosing after me boys. Um, there is a river in the town that I live in, and it is called Rogers Burn. And when I was a child, all of us who were different went to play there, and everybody who wasn't different. And there were all sorts of gangs and schemings from school and building boats. But it was in that place that we probably learned more about life and the darknesses that come in life than anywhere else. And in light of recent events, I'm reading it tonight, The Mysterious Case of Him. Of all the waters we could have chosen to scheme by, it was always Roger's Burn that caught us diving with boys or fishing with worms pierced by bent nappy pins, sinking down into the silt of shoelace elastic line. That once hooked a piece of river gold, we all wigged each other's hair to hold. Insurance against the day we'd leg it out from this old damn town that never forgot or forgave a grudge, since the waters retreated and left old Sulia behind as darkest of their imaginings. Man-eating monsters gave our games that extra edge, but all myth is more than a way through the stories of why we're here. The burn gave me riddle of name, and he was reborn from globlets of bramble, blackberry, rosehip sloe, fleshed in old alluvial, seasonally dressed. He was mine, I his, until running to water refracted a giantess back. But still what words make flesh continues as parallel, survives as echoings do, on bat pirouette along raveling ribboned light, as when liberationists freed the white chemicals, then rabbits from the science labs, I thought his hand had helped. Or once again, when strange lights brought back miracles at Rogers Burn, I knew his mischief had helped. But geography is more than place, bigger than map, moving us like compasses wherever water falls. And although we all tried to step into the same river twice, we're denied replay. But waters have run through us and crawled from primordial seas. Still, the ship we made from an iron bed with crow's nest was our own ark, carrying us as celebrants into the future darknesses. Look closely at shadows cast by light. Know all monsters have as many ways of hiding as we had. Still, sing fantastically of his gardening of these waters, this harvesting of mysteries in imagination's name. Yesterday at the inauguration, there was this phrase that stuck in my mind, drill, we're going to drill, drill. And a number of years ago, there's a magazine in Ireland called Crannog, and they're a great magazine, and they published some lovely poems. And I couldn't help but think of the poem that I had written that was published in Crannog 48, and a long time ago now, summer 2018. And in it, I talk about, it's called If It Is True That Humans Are Mobile Trees. And the Uwa are an indigenous people who live in the cloud forests of northeast Colombia. And there's only about 7 or 8,000 of them left. But they gained international visibility in a 14-year-long struggle to prevent oil drilling on their land, because to the Uwa, the land is sacred, and their religious tradition maintains equilibrium between the layers of the world, earth, water, oil, mountain, and sky, which is, and oil is the blood of the earth in their opinion or their belief. And the spectacled bear, one of my favorite animals, and they consider their brother. And I'm just going to read that poem. Um, if it is true that humans are mobile trees, there is a hidden music in rain drumming rattle rattle through leaves. Each tree that breaks from earth is melody of wing thrum, opening our imagos to bee hum, wings that sense the way by frog chorus are magnetoseptic and thunderous. Jaguar roar carries us deep into fog forests to sing worlds into being with the Uwa, spectacled bear. Manoba chases us across the skywalk below hanging bridges. Giggles of water wake us to sip from Dracula simia orchids in orange-scented shafts. Beside a roadblock, trees sit in platforms unite us. Sing to the leaf light in our veins. Now, obviously, fake news is the big, catch point recently. And I want to read you a poem called American Relatives, about my own childhood, when back then there were relatives and relatives. If you didn't have an American relative, you made them up. And the only problem was the truer the relative, the more likely you'd be accused of fabrication. So back then, fake news was de rigueur in the classroom and in the schoolyard. American relatives. After Attracted Duffy read her news cobbled from collective atrocities, the classroom sighed in envy at her way with words that blew out as terror. When Sister Rose Immaculata taught us Irish history, she spoke of how the coffin ships carried the best and brightest of us away. After Imelda Kelly read her letter from her American relatives, Sister Rose Immaculata made us pray for their hard-working Irish souls. When Attracted Duffy came to school wearing her red, white, and blue sweatshirt bought in Bloomingdale's, I thought Sister Rose Immaculata would faint from delight. After I read out the tale of my twin ancestors, one of whom had robbed a bank and blamed it on the other, fooling the Texan sheriff, Sister Rose Immaculata said I'd burn in the depths of hell. When Imelda Kelly's father left to work illegally in New York, Sister Rose Immaculata made us sacrifice our weekly pocket money as holy rite. After school, as I reached for air through the rain, a gang of girls surrounded Imelda Kelly, demanding back their copper pennies, but mine was safe between my sock and shoe. When Sister Rose Immaculata moved on to the celestial realms, I thanked her in my poem for teaching me the power of allegory. And as you know, I have, some of you have heard me read from this book, The Mermouth, A Fable for Our Times. And it seems unfortunate that it's so accurate about a government in the future called the nomenclature who bans all sorts of things. But I'm going to read you a little, just a tiny little bit because there's a chapter in the book called There Are at least 7 different types of truth. The truth was, Lady Truth was tiring of her masquerade. She was learning far away hills were no greener in this future than back at home in cozy Merbay. Few flowers grew here, fewer trees. She missed Merbay's 3-leaved clover fields. Lady Luck and her twin brother Chance had fled aboard the airship named Hope. Still, she had garnered a growing group of followers in her purple awning that hung on every tumble of the runes, on every overturned painted stone by her bejeweled hand. No matter how many times she told them there was nothing to be gained by knowing what tomorrow would bring, they could not live in the here and now. Too well did Truth know how they really felt, having come to the outer skirts because of that selfsame helplessness. There are at least 7 different types of truth that correspond to all 7 stages of our journeys through life, around the planets and inside our inner worlds. Truth changes as it changes us, outside in and inside out continually. Welcome at last, Messieurs Crook and Granny. We 3 have a lot of truths that have passed their sell-by date to put to rest. And the truth is, I have grown so very, very weary of this heartless place. Lady Truth, we have a question, began Crook. Instead of an answer, she put a finger to her lips, left her seat, and walked out into the night to sit beneath a surviving horse chestnut tree. You want to know how this all began, but the real question is, what does it mean to say that it is true it began at all? You do not understand me. Lady Truth, we just want to discover the truth about our sister Annabella, and Cranny here has a letter she may have left as a clue. Cranny offered her his precious crumpled paper, but she declined. First, I need you both to swear you will do everything I ask. Of course we will, won't we, Granny? Well, yes, I guess, came his brother's rather more reticent reply. In order that matters are brought to a close, we need that chronovisor and some clover. Clover? Asked Crook. What on earth is that? Echoed Granny. I never travel without my clover. It is my luck, she insisted. Neither Crook nor Cranny knew of anywhere that grew clover, but they could blag as well as anyone. Here in the outer skirt we call it, this from Cranny quick to invent, but Lady Truth was having none of it. Don't lie to me, Cranny. Clover likes running water and grows in green. I like to travel with a lucky talisman, but needs must as need is. If truth be told, we neither one of us have ever heard of clover. So much of what was common is gone now from our tongue since the nomenclature took over, sighed Crook as he unlocked the painted door of the Crook and Cranny Curiosity Store and ushered her inside. Instead of bright oil lamps revealing artifacts from before, objets d'art like mobile telephones, a family bike, books, all sorts of printed matter, every shelf was tumbled, every artifact in pieces on the floor, and what was worse, they could hear a heavy, snuffly snoring. Neither Crook nor Cranny, nor truth be told, Lady Truth herself, were possessed of that quality the ancients call cod, that we know now by its more common variant as courage. They all 3 reversed as one back the way they'd come, tripping over each other and falling into a Gordian knot on the floor. So that's just a little bit about truth with a few. There's a lot of, and I'm going to finish with a poem. It's a sestina, if I have time, and it's called Poetry Went Into Owl. And let's see, I kind of, it's one of my favorite poems. Poetry went into Owl, and when her voice was torn from the page that left everything seen from skewed world, from only one viewpoint, erasing woman words, poetry ran to the radical forest to plant and tend vineyards of thought that dropped metered lines into a well. Water hidden in poetry's well ripples as palimpsest over page, written in invisible ink, men thought forgotten as old and ancient world. Poetry went into owl, hatched forest as dictionaries of hidden words. To break the charm, we have to chant 6 words that map the path back to enchanted well, owl's guard in mythical forest. A gypsy girl turns over the page of cups, who seeks control over the world. Mind births all matter from simple thought. Who was it chose a feather to catch thought from air, to abracadabra as words? How many owls can be wrung from word? Once upon a truth, there was an old well guarded by owls. Read the lines of page, shaped as oak, ash, and thorn in forest. All language is a story of forest, trees sheltering allegorical thought, golden plumed owls tremolo on page. But those words that hide behind words are waiting at the bottom of the well until they're throated back to words. It's as much about who defines words as it is about who controls forest. The first poem surfaced for air from the well, where woman washed clean the clothes of thought. They hung on branches to dry out as words, then folded into shape we see on page. Before you drink well water from this world, locate the page, owl hid deep in forest, when wise woman's thought touched all words. Thank you very much.